wanted to do a story time on my aunt. She's been my rock since my mom died. My mom was never my rock, but my mom, being a narcissist, my aunt saw her for what she was. And if you're familiar with people who have NPD, when somebody recognizes the NPD, they hate that person. That person is public enemy number one to them. So with the children, they tend to, my mom was always making these passive aggressive statements about my aunt. She's so perfect. So when you have a parent that's got NPD and they act that way towards somebody, associating with that person feels like a betrayal. And I think it's kind of the same with, even if you're not dealing with somebody with NPD, like if your parents were divorced and one parent just really hated who the other parent was dating, and they would sit there and talk crap about them, so you couldn't say, well, I like them, because you'd feel like they'd be mad if you liked that person. There's a certain thing about that. But it was really strong with my mom. And so when mom and dad died, I got semi-close to my aunt, but I didn't get really close to her until I left Ohio on one day's notice, and she took me in. And she had a trailer on her property that she allowed me to live in and make my home. And, she's been my rock. So let me tell you a bit about her. She was born in 1948. And my grandma was a Rosie the Riveter and worked 2 to 3 jobs because my grandpa, he had been injured. Like he had right before being shipped out to World War II, he had gotten hurt and had his leg, he got a complex fracture. So he couldn't go. His whole platoon died in World War II. He had a few jobs. He got injured a few times. So a lot of times he was at home. He couldn't cook. He wouldn't clean. As I said, grandma worked like 2 or 3 jobs. And so my dad and my aunt, who were children of my grandpa, and then there was my other uncle that was from my grandma's first marriage, they took care of themselves. And because like they said, if their dad cooked, you couldn't eat it. And my dad and my aunt are very much people who, if you see something needs to be done, you just do it. Like you don't have to be told, you just do it. So my aunt grew up in a time period where women were secretaries. That was kind of how they got into businesses, was being secretaries. And I like how my aunt, throughout her life, she said that she kept going back to school because she's never been able to figure out what she wanted to be. But she started out as a secretary. And when I was going through the trailer, I found a textbook from her secretary school that talked about how to make yourself more attractive, that you need to be attractive to work around the men. Like, this is like, I don't know what I did with this book. It's around here somewhere. Insane book about how to wear your hair, wearing the most flattering glasses, doing makeup, how to dress, keeping yourself fit. Like all of this just to work in an office as a secretary. This is like insane. So this would have been the 60s, right? She almost died of the flu that, I think it was the Spanish flu. or something. It was bad pandemic, and she almost lost her life due to it. Now, my aunt is very well educated, and she spent most of her life working for the state. Like when she retired, she was working for hang on, workman's comp. She was working for workman's comp. Like she was somebody. And my whole life she worked. And my grandma was like, just save your money, save your money, save your money. So my aunt did. My aunt got her name on the deed to their house as part ownership just because my grandpa didn't want to pay $12 a month for fire insurance. Now, they had a house fire. So my aunt is like seriously freaked out about fire. Like she's always worried about fire hazards. And she collects things. She is a hoarder. She has so much stuff, and she has a bunch of cats. Now, she didn't intend on getting a bunch of cats, but where she lives, people just drop off cats. So she hasn't gained any new ones in a good 6 or 7 years, but she's still got like 9. And she was telling me about how when my great-grandparents' property came up to be sold, she wanted to buy it. She had the money for the down payment. She made enough to pay for it. Like everything about her on paper, in today's time, it would have easily went through this sale. But at the bank, they basically told her, yeah, you've got this good job. She was making 4 times what they would have required somebody to make. But she was a woman. And the bank manager said that she needed a man to sign. Like it needed to be my dad or her dad. It needed to be a man. I imagine my Uncle Pete could have co-signed too. I don't know why she didn't ask them. Because I think she said that my grandpa wouldn't. But I don't know why she wouldn't have asked my dad, because my dad probably would have. And he was 2 years older than her. But anyway, the bank manager told her if she'd go on a date with him, he'd approve her loan. And I asked her, I said, when he said date, was he just like if you'll go out to dinner with me, or did he like hooker date, And she said, oh, he was not looking to go have dinner. And I was like, oh my gosh. I can't imagine this, the things that she's seen. And just like everything she's seen, it's just amazing. The stories she tells about growing up and various things that I had no clue about my dad or my mom or my grandpa. I thought my grandpa was the sweetest guy on the planet. But that woman, I just love how she says she kept going back to school because she never figured out what she wanted to be. And now she's basically just like the wealthiest person I know. She's one of the most generous and kindest people, but she's got attitude. Like my aunt is, I didn't really know her when she was younger. But as I've known her in her 70s, she is one of these people who will say shit to people. Oh, and you cannot say the F word. The F word is just so out of bounds with her. She hates that word. But I just think it's neat. I've got to find that book and share some screenshots of pages out of that book, because it was an actual textbook for women entering the workforce. We've come a long way, baby.